Hi everyone, my name is Natalie Susie and I have been a nanny since I was 18 years old, and I've been a babysitter since I was 11 years old. There is a little bit of a difference between those two. What we're going to talk about today this is for parents who want to have an idea of the questions that they should ask their nanny in an interview. Okay, so overall, before I start going through all the questions, I want to just give a caveat that this is an overview of what you can ask. Obviously things change depending on the age of the children that you need a nanny for. Okay, so for the first question, I think the best way to start out an interview for any kind of position is, why do you like doing what you're doing? Why do you like being with kids? Why have you chosen to be a nanny? That's an easy question for everybody. It takes the tension and ease away, and your nanny, your future nanny, hopefully should be able to answer that question very easily. After that, I think the best way to start then is to ask about the experiences that they've had. How many years have they been babysitting and nannying, and what kind of experience do they have with other children and with the age groups that they've worked with? What are their favorite age groups to work with? Where do they feel most comfortable? The next part is the most important part, and that is the philosophies. What is their philosophy on food, their philosophy on TV, their philosophy on sleeping, and also on, what was my last one here, on discipline. That's the most important one, actually. So number one, what are her philosophies on food? Is she healthy? What kind of snacks does she generally like to make for a kid? What are her favorite snacks? What are the easiest snacks that she sort of refers to? How often are your children allowed to snack? So that's kind of, food is a big thing, and I would probably start with that. Next part is TV. Okay, so how often are your kids allowed to watch TV? Is it acceptable? Do you use a timer? Do they know how much time they're allowed? Are they going to try and get around that with the nanny? Does she need to know that? Also, what types of shows are they allowed? Do you have certain parent locks on things? The next part is philosophy on discipline. Obviously, this is a very important one. How do you tend to discipline your kids, and what are you okay with her doing? You want her to be some sort of authority figure in the house, especially if she's going to be there all day by herself with your children. They need to know that she's in charge. And you also want to gauge if she has that sort of presence. Is she authoritative in that way with children? What kind of process does she go through? Do you want her to use timeout? Do you want her to step away, let the kid figure it out themselves? However you work it best. And lastly, philosophy on sleep. Now this is sort of more important with infants. Are they allowed to fall asleep on the babysitter or the nanny? Do you allow the nanny to rock them to sleep? What is the process on that? Do they go to sleep on their own? Do they have certain specific things that positions that they tend to lay in? Those kinds of things. And then lastly, what kind of activities is the nanny most comfortable doing, and do they align with the activities that you want your child to be doing? For me, personally, I prefer to read. I like to do arts and crafts. I like to do things indoors. I'm not really at one with nature. So do you want your child to have more activities outside? Because if that's the case, you want to find a nanny that enjoys doing that as well. Last, and kind of I saved it for last because it's sort of least important, but what are the duties or the tasks, we should say, that you'd love your nanny to do around the house? Is she comfortable doing some things over others? Would she prefer to cook? Does she like to cook? I don't like to cook. However, I don't mind doing laundry, and I don't mind cleaning up, and that's kind of a thing that should be on the table. Do you want them to do that? Do you want them to have undivided attention to your child and only have to worry about that? Or would you like your nanny to do some of those things while your child's sleeping? If you feel in your gut that you have a good nanny sitting in front of you and you'd like them to work with your child, but they don't align with maybe some of the expectations you had in your head. For example, maybe they don't have an education background in early childhood development or an elementary education, but you feel very good about them, let that kind of expectation go. Stick with your gut on this one. This is your child. This is your most important person in your life that you need to find somebody to take care of. So if you feel that you have a good connection with somebody, go with it. As long as they have the experience and they have a good energy around them and you feel comfortable with them, that is really the most important thing. So good luck finding your perfect nanny.